empowering minds, amplifying voices, and transforming lives. This is the Untold Stories of Hope podcast brought to you by the Destiny Connect Foundation. Your hosts, Zion Enogeu and Puffy Medupe.
Bonani, hello, good morning, good day, good afternoon. Maskara say, wherever you are, bonjour, all over the world. This is Untold Stories of Hope podcast brought to you by Destiny Connect Foundation. What a lovely time to be alive, man. Just to be here in the space, having communication with global community. We are really excited to have all the viewers joining us today. Remember that you can follow Untold Stories of Hope podcast. You can actually follow Destiny Connect Foundation and say Destiny Connect Foundation on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. You can also say www.destinyconnectfoundation.org. That's our website where you can be able to access more on the details of the podcast. Man, we are really excited. Today, Untold Stories of Hope podcast, we welcome an extraordinary woman whose life journey embodies resilience, healthy, authentic leadership. Who is it other than Sandra Combe? She's a transformational speaker. She's an international best-selling author, and she's the founder of what we call Stop the Bypass. Come on, I love that part where they say stop the bypass. And I want to hear more about it. A global movement born from her near-death experience following a heart attack and a triple bypass surgery, with over 30 years of experience of corporate leadership and now a healing arts entrepreneur. Sandra empowers women to stop bypassing their truth, reclaiming their voice, and lead with courage and heart. Come on, we need this kind of women in this age and era. She's a co-author in Catalyst of Change, Lessons from Leaders on Peace and Sustainable Development and the Power Within. That's the Women's Stories of Resilience Leadership, recognized with that 2025 Global Women's Trailblazer and Leadership Excellence Award. And her message is bold and clear. Stop the bypass, live fully, live authentically. Today, she joins us to share the powerful theme, Stop the Bypass, Women Pioneers Shaping the Future, Awakening and Turning Point. Come on, let's welcome Sandra Combe. Hello there.
Thank you. I'm privileged to have the opportunity to connect with Destiny Connection.
You are more than welcome. You look amazing. And, every time I have to speak to someone, especially phenomenal female leaders, globally, it really inspires me. And I know the viewers will also be inspired in what you are doing. And tell us a bit about yourself, just before I dive into everything. Who's Sandra Combe?
Okay.
Where are you from? Yeah.
Well, my name is Sandra Combe, and I am based in Southern California, USA. I have had a very interesting, extraordinary life, running a path. I worked corporate for 30 years for the number one oil and gas company in the world. And I started to run a healing arts entrepreneurship when I started getting stressed out and anxiety, putting myself out there. So that allowed me to continue to kind of expand in both worlds, for the mind, body, and spirit. But I started, like all of us, I got married young. I had a child young. And by the time I started in the oil and gas field, I was, at 30 years old. And what I did is I learned to compete. And it was back in the days in the 80s when there wasn't as much diversity. There wasn't as many legal requirements. So women were just being welcomed to the leadership table. But what I found was that, I worked in the field and I worked in a corporate office. So I had like these dual identities, but there still was a time where, women coming into a man's world, a very dominated man's world that's very hierarchy. So for me to climb the ladders, I had to promote, I had to survive, I had to match men. I kind of had to mute my femininity and mute my voice too.
I can imagine how aggressive the industry was.
Right. But what I realized is, the women's voices kind of got into the mold of what the man's leadership role was. So I think it was something that we all had to work better together.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And Yeah, just hold it there, because there's a lot of details that I want you to join into what you're telling me now, because that's very interesting, especially when you talk about oil and gas departments and fields. It says a lot about women who are watching now, and they really want to get into the industry and know the do's and don'ts and how to behave, how to conduct themselves, and also how to survive. You know, you spoke about this with surviving, because it's all about survival of the fittest. Now, let me join what you are saying to what I want to ask you now.
Perfect.
Take us back to the moment. Let's begin it on the heart attack thing. The experience that you had. Take us back to that moment, and what was the truth your body was trying to tell you, or your mind, about the bypass thing? What happened, and how did you feel, and what was going on in your life?
Perfect. Well, one of the things working in corporate leadership taught me was, to be empowered, to reclaim my inner authority. I learned,
Yeah.
competition, communication, collaboration. But to climb that corporate ladder, I had to continue my education. I got my bachelor's. I went back at 48
Yeah.
years old to get my MBA. At
Yay.
49, I had a massive heart attack. And
Wow.
at 50, I had a pacemaker. So I had completely burned out. I looked very successful on the outside, but on
Yeah.
the inside, I was still kind of trying to prove my worth. I was learning boundaries to work in corporate, and just getting used to being in the office in a suit and then being out in the field with
Yeah.
steel-toed shoes and coveralls and boots. So I took a year out, and during that year, I opened my healing arts to say, my gosh, if I'm going to compete out in this world, I have to be able to take better
Yeah.
care of my body.
That's powerful, Sandra. And you speak about something called a burnout. Sometimes we forget such things like burnout. When people
Yes.
look healthy and flexible outside, they look successful, but really there's something that is missing within themselves. And I'm glad that you openly speak about it, and acknowledging that at some point, we don't really take care of how we are supposed to do to ourselves. Now, when you woke up from that triple bypass surgery, what shifted inside you emotionally and spiritually?
Well, it was one of the first opportunities that I had with that face of death. And what that face of death taught me was a teacher to live more. And I
Yeah.
realized, like everybody else, climbing the corporate ladder, I needed to, you know, uh, reclaim that part of me that I lost trying to fit in. Like
Yeah.
I really had to be one of the boys to fit in the man's world. So I started this mind, body, spirit. I started doing some Reiki healing modalities and things that just got me in touch with being alive again. Because one of the things that I talk about is we've forgotten to be alive. We're so busy making a living. We have
Yeah.
forgot how to live.
Yeah.
How to live.
I love that. I love that.
Um,
We want to make a living, but we forget to be alive.
Right. So
Wow.
there was this part of inside of me that was dying. And what I realized was, as I worked environmental compliance for the oil and gas, and I love the planetary stewardship, taking care of the world, working with the air and the water and the waste and everything that's involved in the manufacturing of oil and gas. But there was still a part of me that felt like we were still exploiting our Mother Earth. And I felt it inside. And that's what I believe my heart arteries were. They were being kind of exploited in the values. As much as I was doing a great job, there was still this inner conflict of, wanting to save the planet, wanting to save the earth. So I wrote in Catalyst to Change, healing ourselves to heal the world. Like we really can't do
Yeah.
anything out there until we're strong enough inside. And I think that time out, I would say, or was in the dugout, it gave me a chance to find me again.
I'm glad that when you are in a dark season, there's something that you're doing. I can't wait to read your materials, just to also, get a good taste of what really brought you to the surface. This is amazing. Hearing this, I believe it's going to impact a lot of global listeners now and viewers who are watching the podcast. I mean, was there a moment when you realized, Sandra, that success comes at an unseen cost? Sometimes when you tell people that, there's a price to pay for success, and they're like,
Yes.
no, it has to come easy, it has to come, with ease, you don't have to sweat for it. But what is that unseen cost?
Right. The unseen cost. In fact, that's one of the chapters, the unseen cost of success when achievement masks unhealed pain. So we still have these childhood wounds and we put on that armor. I call it, those masks. And, we look really good on the outside, but yet the inside still needs that work. So that year gave me a chance to really find a life that felt like mine versus fitting into the man's world, working control, being perfect, being a high achiever, people pleasing. I mean, I learned all those things as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter. But in the corporate world, I had to learn empowerment, and that really had to come from my own inner authority, my own truth, and my own self-trust. So that year gave me a chance to create a life that felt like mine. Instead of being the walking zombies, we're all out there in the corporate, we look good, we're going through the motions. That time out a year gave me a chance to find my own voice.
That's amazing. If you've just joined us now, this is Untold Stories of Hope podcast brought to you by Destiny Connect Foundation. And my name is Parfumé all the way here from South Africa, man. I'm still here with Sandra Combe. We're talking about nothing but, preventing yourself from bypassing. We always want to bypass things. If you've just tuned in, you can follow us, destinyconnectfoundation.org. That's where we are. In our emails also, you can say info@destinyconnectfoundation.org. We're still talking about, preventing that bypass. I love what you said, Sandra, earlier. It really stood out for me. We want to make a living, but we forget to be alive. And I think that's my takeaway already. I'm going to tell a lot of people that, look, we can't just make a living. We have to be alive. So many high achieving women, you spoke about the armor that you have to wear. And sometimes the armor that we wear can either work positively or negatively against us. But most women who achieve so high like yourself, they wear this armor of strength. But what was the mask you were wearing? What is it that people thought, now this is an armor, actually just a mask, masking certain things, weaknesses, and, those kind of things?
Right. Well, one of the first masks I did walking into the control and boardrooms was masking my emotions. I'm a very compassionate, heartfelt person. So I had to perform to be accepted and really holding back that femininity. That was an opportunity for me to rise in leadership. I had to be seen as efficient and reliable and untouchable by design. So I wasn't allowed to be vulnerable. I had to be seen as a worker and not as a woman first. And I believe what I brought to the table is I believe women carry generations of wisdom. And we can lose ourselves in those roles, in those titles, and in those expectations. But I did go back to work. And then I had an opportunity to early retire. I'd already spent 30 years out in the corporate world. They taught me so much about myself. I learned about ethics and leading teams and managing crises. I never would have had those experiences had I not been in the corporate world. Communication, cooperation, collaboration, all those became part of my daily living. But then I became a grandmother, and I'm like a different phase of my life. And I started traveling the world. And I ended up having a near-death experience in my daughter's backyard pool at a family barbecue. And that's the moment that my life changed forever. And when I woke up 3 days later from a coma, from that NDE, and had a chance to review my
Yeah.
life, I realized that, that my life had to change, that I had to be that change, and that I had been in that prison of safety and in that prison of survival.
Yeah.
And I kind of woke up in a life that didn't feel like mine.
And sometimes we forget, Sandra. I mean, that is a turning point. Although your turning point came at that cost, of having that heart attack and being in the coma for 3 days, but I'm glad that it really reminds you of the strength and the resilience that you have. You mentioned something earlier that you are a mom, you are a daughter, you are a wife, a businesswoman. There's a lot of women who are wearing your shoes. Some, they are heading towards what you have achieved already. But what does bypassing look like in the lives of ambitious women in the world that we live in today?
Well, the whole women's empowerment, women coming into
Yeah.
leadership. What I feel like is, they're what a lot of the stats say on that diverse leadership, could really change companies. But women are still taking care of families and homes and
Yeah.
everything else in
Yeah.
between. For me, continuous education, really gave me a chance to develop my intellectual and my logical and be able to carry those communications with that male-dominated world. But yet on the inside,
Yeah.
I've still always been a mother. And what I realized is like our inside world really reflects what our outer world is going to be. So for me, is I did have that resilience, and it did. I had to learn to reclaim my own voice.
Yeah. I love that. That's beautiful. I love that. Because at the end of
Right.
the day, you said something about masking your emotions, and I want
Yes.
us to
Yes.
touch a bit about that because most women, they silence their pain in the names or in the name of performance and productivity.
Yes.
Why do you
Yeah.
think women do that? I mean, you are a strong woman, you are corporate, you are in the oil and gas, engineering field for like 30 years plus. So, but
Yeah.
why do you think women do that? Why do they hide their pain or silence their pain just to seem they're performing and they're producing?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because when I started in corporate,
Yeah.
and I had told you previously that women were not. It was the first time that women came in leadership roles, and the world had already been created by the man and the hierarchy, and in the particular company that I was working for. So there was a part of me that just I kind of had to mute my voice and
Yeah.
match the men. So one of my signature talks is from one of the boys to all of us, that I had to be more masculine as a female to fit into a man's world. And
Wow.
after I had my near-death experience, it gave me a chance to look back over my life and have a second chance to create a life worth living. But
Yeah.
I applaud and recognize any and every woman or any man out there that is just learning about connection and relationship and having all that besides, the
Yeah.
corporate leadership. But for me, it's discipline. It's
Yeah.
but we could lose ourselves in those titles and those promotions. So
Yeah.
I had an opportunity to stop my own bypass, which meant really, breaking free of that prison from survival. So I think we could
Yeah.
get caught in that box, and to be a woman pioneer in this
Yeah.
what I would say man created world, is that you have to you have to be authentic. You have to show up, create your boundaries,
Yeah.
stand empowered, and stand in the integrity of who we are. So that's
Yeah.
what I would have to say had been some of the biggest challenges in fitting into a global corporate environment.
And it's a global corporate environment. I mean, I was listening to a leader, powerful as you are, she's a woman, so she was being interviewed, and she said something very interesting. She said, many times people tell you that, you know what, especially when you go through difficult times, people come and tell you that you are so strong, you
Yeah.
are so powerful. And the lady said, no, before I'm strong, I'm broken, I'm hurt,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm feeling weak. And sometimes we don't talk about those things. Everyone just want
Right.
to come to you and say you are strong, you are powerful, you are this beautiful lady, but they don't talk about the brokenness. They don't talk about the suffering, the pain, the difficult seasons where you have to navigate isolation, and resilience comes at a cost. So now, what did healing teach you about leadership? There are so
Um,
many wounded leaders out there.
right. One of the articles that I wrote was
Yeah.
healing ourselves to heal the world. Because for me is we have this outer appearance, but really
Yeah.
inside is who we are. The power is within. But
Yeah.
the resilience of women, healing taught me how to breathe again. It taught me
Yeah.
that we push our bodies so much and we don't listen to the messages. This pain and suffering becomes part of our daily routine to
Yeah.
compete in the man's world. So I think what healing taught me was that like for success can be financial
Yeah.
abundance, but for me success is health, because without our health we have nothing.
As they say, health is wealth.
Yep. Yep. Well, it truly is. Health
Yeah.
and happiness is really what success is. But what I learned was that you could have financial abundance, you could have money,
Yeah.
but if you don't have the abundance of relationships and connections and lived experiences, you could be as smart as you want as a book. You could get that
Wow.
knowledge from the book, but if you lived it. So God gave me a chance to live it. And after I had my near death experience, and I woke up, I'm like, I knew that my life was going to change forever. I looked back on every aspect of my life, to realize that, every experience, good, bad, or ugly, everything brought me to who I am. So would I change
Yeah.
anything? I don't know that I could, because the universe kind of creates our life, and we have an option to become
Yeah.
aware and react towards it.
Yep. That's powerful. And I love what you said. We heal ourselves to heal the world. I mean, how can you
Yeah.
help other people heal when you are not,
Right.
healed yourself? And I'm really grateful for that. Women are powerful out there. I mean, most of the time, even on the podcast, we sit with more powerful women than males, because I believe that, it's an era where women are penetrating through systems and organizations and structures, and they've got more potential of growth, and leadership, actually, So I'm really grateful, because there's a young girl child out there watching this podcast now, in any part of the world, and imagine what your story will do to them, or it will
Yeah.
do for them. I mean, this is an
Right.
inspiration where someone finds hope because of your story. And, I remember someone once asked me, I was in an interview, in a podcast interview, and someone asked me and said, how did you come to, love saving humanity? And becoming a life coach and all of those things, because I'm always in organizations, different platforms, prisons, government departments, sitting with ministers and ambassadors of governments and all of that. And I remember my passion, I was so young, that one day I was watching TV and I saw a lady called Lady Diana. And when I saw
Oh,
Lady Diana and what she did when she came to Africa, to change the lives of African people and everything, I believe that's where my gift was born. Because after seeing that particular interview of Lady Diana and following her story and everything, that's where I was like, yeah, one day I want to be like this. I want to build the world. I want to change the world. And now, when we look at women, Sandra, how can women pioneer the future without sacrificing their health, their joy, their sanity, and also their identity? There are so many times when women have to get opportunities. Some of them, they are forced to compromise. They are forced to do things they don't want to do. But how can they protect that?
well, that's a very interesting conversation. Um,
Yeah.
I think for me is what I would say is learning to set boundaries, um, being empowered, standing in integrity, saying no when no means no, and
Yeah.
really I say grow with the flow. You're there to develop connections and relationships, and you're working together side by side. So for me, it's
Yeah.
assuring that people stand in the integrity of who they are. I think so much of us work out of our head, we forget to feel in our heart. So we could be great thinkers here, but like, could businesses ever say instead of profits that people are more important? And so for you to
Yeah.
be the best that you could be.
That's beautiful and that's very powerful. Once again, if you've just joined us, this is Untold Stories of Hope podcast brought to you by Destiny Connect Foundation. My name is Pafimi Dupi. I'm still here with Sandra Combe, all the way from California, man. Come on, there's a positive energy. There's positive waves, flying all over the place. Destiny Connect Foundation, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Follow us there or say www.destinyconnectfoundation.org, whereby you can be able to liaise with us. We are ready to help you, to host you. You can also be part of this podcast if you want to, and also be a sponsor of one of the episodes or the entire podcast. And we are here with a catalyst for change, Sandra Combe. We are talking about nothing but preventing those bypasses. There's this element in life where we bypass certain things. We want to, take shortcuts. We don't take care of ourselves as we are supposed to do. But now we are breaking it down. And she has experience in terms of being in a coma for 3 days after getting a heart attack. And Sandra has spoken about how she even got, to realize the burnout, masking her emotions and everything. But I'm still standing on what she said earlier when she said, you can never make a living when you are not alive. That thing, I feel like it has changed my life already. Come on, man. I love hearing such things. So, Sandra, what is the difference between surviving success and truly living it in courage and also building legacy?
Well, I love that you say that because what I did for 4 years after my near-death experience is when I look back on my life is I started to
Yeah.
take off
Yeah.
those masks of survival and how we learned that we live everybody else's life, through the roles
Yeah.
that we perform. And when I started to take off the masks and really look deep inside myself to understand is,
Yeah.
these, am I being authentic? Am I being real? Am I just going through the motions of living? So for me to break free from the prison of survival was for me to find me, to love me, to, for the first time in my life, make my life about
Yeah.
me. Um,
Absolutely.
So
I love that.
I believe God gave me a timeout, and during that timeout,
Yeah.
I realized that death was the teacher to teach me. I think most people, that are of age and fearful of leaving the planet with regrets,
Yeah.
maybe it's because they really haven't lived. So for me,
Yeah.
it's that what is the full on power of living, and I don't think people ever take the time to realize is that we create our own reality with our own awareness. And I had to be the change that started with me. And when I started healing myself, my family started healing. So
Yeah,
I
that's
learned
powerful.
to instead of from the head is being heart centered in everything that I do and showing empathy and compassionate for everybody, so that companies could see that the most valuable asset is the people and not the
Yeah,
profit, and people could feel appreciated and valued. So this whole thing about survival was taking out the masks. I call it my armor. So the armor that I
yep,
wear as a spiritual light worker or a warrior, it keeps anything, but it also keeps the inside from not coming out. So there had to be a way that I could trust life, trust
yeah,
myself, and
yeah.
yeah, work side by side with anybody.
That's amazing. I mean, here's an interesting thing, Sandra. How do you recharge? How do you fill yourself up? And this question comes in a basis that there are so many people who can go through what you have gone through, or
Yeah.
some of them they went through worse situations than yours. And most of them, Sandra, to be honest, they are living in bitterness, some they are living in anger, some they are living in brokenness, some it's hard for them to heal. And one of
Yeah.
the reasons why they cannot find it together, it's because they hardly have a way of knowing how to recharge, how to reconnect with their inner
Yes.
self. How do you do that?
Right. Well, I realize that vitality comes from within. And for me, realizing we all breathe the same air, energy all comes, consciousness all comes to us the same. So it was using the tools
Yeah,
to, to be in our body, to I declutter my mind by journaling. I do breathing. I do yoga. I move my body,
yeah,
because if not, that pain and suffering stays in our body and becomes illness and disease. So if we cannot let all that negative emotions
yeah.
go in some aspect, then we carry it within, and then it touches everything around us. So I think it is just to be more consciously aware of how can I clear my mind, my body, and yeah, survive.
That's really powerful, Sandra. And there are so many women that are experiencing what you're talking about, and anger is really putting them down, and they really can't move forward. They've got barriers and limitations that are really trying to, suppress them. But now, if a woman listens, or if a woman is listening now and they feel exhausted and they
Right.
feel unseen, they feel stuck behind their own mask, what is the first courageous step she can take today? What is it that you can recommend for a woman out there who feels like, what, some of them, they've been in long seasons, of pruning and so many aspects of their lives not going well. But what can you recommend for them to do? What steps can they take, to begin afresh so that they can find hope again?
Right. And I think a lot of that comes from, what your values and things are. For me, is
Yeah,
I started walking and getting back into nature and all the simple
yeah.
things that are beautiful right there in front of us. Like everybody says, "Where's God?" And I say, "Go hug a tree." But the happiness isn't by somebody
Oh,
else. The happiness
that's a
comes
great
from
one.
within. Yeah. Yeah. It's like you've got to create it. You've got to be that change. And but for me, it started taking better care of my body, which then
Yeah,
this thing with my mind, learning to journal, learning to communicate.
yeah.
There's got to be a lot of groups learning about energy healing. I mean, that was big for me, about the food and the water and everything that we put into our body. It affects the whole package, Puffy.
And I think everyone watching the podcast now would agree with you that really it takes a lot of components to put in together the solutions that can help someone, gain their consciousness and be able to move forward and break free. And I know
Right.
that there's a legacy that you are building, Sandra, and there's a lot, you are a visionary. There's still a lot of great things that I believe you still want to achieve. This is like the beginning of something new. And what legacy are women pioneers called to create in this generation. I mean, you are one of them. You are one of those women who are really a trendsetter. You are making a mark globally. It's nice when I hear you saying that, no, I work globally in a corporate space, and so many women wish to be that. So, what is the legacy that women are supposed to build in this era?
Well, I think what I'm feeling is that it's this big thing about empowerment, and we can often pretend we're happy, but inside we suffer. So I think that women supporting women, it's great, but I just think that expanding your mind, expanding your body, connecting with nature. What would it take to feel alive again? I mean, we don't want to leave this life with regrets. When I saw the face of death several times, like I said, it was a teacher, because we have an opportunity to live, to help this planet, and it's one step at a time, and it's people making a difference in the world.
And that's powerful. That's powerful. I love what I hear. When you say stop the bypass, what does that look like in real life tomorrow morning?
Well, I'm founder of Stop the Bypass. It's a movement. What it looks like is you taking responsibility for yourself. Nothing could happen without you. And what really stops you from doing anything is yourself. So I think you have to come up with that positive mindset. And then you got to make sure that your body's strong enough to move forward. And I think that we get caught in that prison of survival. So it does have to do with breaking free from it. I've done it through. I love to read. I love the knowledge, but there's something different about living it, because you can't heal a life, Puffy, when you're only pretending to live. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's very powerful. Yeah, you can't pretend. You have to leave or you don't leave.
Right.
You leave or you don't leave.
Right.
And
well,
you don't think.
I studied death and dying my whole life. I had a sister that committed suicide, and I'm not teaching people death and dying. I'm teaching people how to live again, how to breathe again, how to tap, how to do very simple things to support your body and your mind and your spirit.
Sandra, there's a young girl, young boy, there's a man, there's a woman, there's an old person somewhere globally, part of our community and our viewers. Someone is saying, I feel like this vision is hard to bring forth. It's hard, it's grandiose. I don't know what to do. There are so many things, I was looking or listening rather to a teaching by the late Dr. Miles Monroe, when he said the wealthiest place on earth is the cemetery, because there lies untapped potential, dreams and visions that were never fulfilled. And it is true. But at this point, Sandra, your voice now reaching people globally, the global community, what can you say to someone who's a visionary like yourself, someone who's got big plans, someone who's got a gift, a calling, to change humanity, to inspire humanity, but they feel like rather they're at the edge of putting everything down because it's not working. They've been fighting this battle. They've been waiting, they've been trusting, they've been hoping. What can you say to this person?
Well, we all want to make a difference in this world. We all want to make a difference for humanity and the planet, but it really starts with making a difference with yourself first. So self first. We forgot, with all the roles that we play, there's a lot of us that forgot about self-love. And, we're all at different stages of our life, but I would say is, what makes you happy?
Yeah.
We forgot that we're here to have happiness. So, the abundance may not come financially right away, but you have an opportunity in this life to have an abundance of relationships and connections, and this opportunity for empowerment. I was fortunate, the company I worked for, they supported continuous education. I know that it could be expensive, but education is really freedom.
Amazing. The episode of Untold Stories of Hope podcast is proudly sponsored by Sandra Combe, founder of Stop the Bypass. We are grateful for a commitment to empowering women to lead authentically, heal deeply, and shape the future with courage. Don't forget that if you would also like to sponsor an upcoming episode and amplify your impact through your global platform, get in touch with us at info@destinyconnectfoundation.org. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sandra Combe, and we are grateful to have her today. How can people contact you, and where can people find you if they want to really communicate with you and gain more of this wisdom?
Well, like I said, I am the founder of Stop the Bypass, www.stopthebypass.com. Started a YouTube channel at Stop the Bypass. So I think that James might have a little 3-minute video that he might play that might give further information on how to contact, like with a QR code and things to that nature.
Thanks so much. The team will definitely link it up on this podcast so everyone can be able to find it. Ladies and gentlemen, Sandra Combe, thank you so much for joining us today, and we wish you all the best from Destiny Connect Foundation. We want to say we're proud of you for the work that you are doing for the global community. You look beautiful, you look so young, and I know that there are a lot of people who are being impacted by your voice and your good deeds.
Thank you.
This is Untold Stories of Hope podcast, brought to you by Destiny Connect Foundation. Thank you so much. We have had a great conversation with Sandra Combe about preventing the bypass. Don't forget that you can follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Just say Destiny Connect Foundation, and that's where you're going to find us. Our email is info@destinyconnectfoundation.org. Also, our website is destinyconnectfoundation.org. Then we are grateful. We are happy to be here with you. It's yet another exciting episode. My name is Pafimi Dupi, all the way from South Africa, and I'm here, always with my co-host, Mr. Zion Enogeru and Masesi Florence Maseko. We are grateful for the episode, and we hope that it has impacted you as we empower minds, amplify voices, and transform lives. See you on the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sharp, sharp.
There are moments in life, through no fault of our own, when we are simply surviving. And moments when survival becomes the very thing holding us back. For years, Sandra Combe did what so many of us do. She stayed strong, she stayed productive, she lived as daughter, sister, mother, wife, and corporate stalwart. She stayed quiet about the pain that shaped her. Then, Sandra died. That was when she couldn't bypass the truth anymore. Then she woke up, figuratively and literally, a medical miracle, returned to us with a message to make the world better. Stop the bypass. This is not a self-help book. It's a wake-up call for all of us. It's about the cost of unresolved trauma. It's about the parts of ourselves that we hide to keep safe. It's about the masks we wear to succeed. Ultimately, it's about the awesome moment when we choose to stop performing and start truly living. Through a near-death experience, honest awakening, meaningful living, and deep inner work, Sandra's story shows us what happens when we stop numbing, stop hiding, and finally listen to what our body, heart, and soul have been asking for all along. This book is our clarion call, calling us to lead, live, and love from truth and full-on living instead of survival. If you've ever felt successful on the outside, but disconnected on the inside, this book was written for you. Stop the bypass. Pre-order now and start enjoying the most honest relationship of your life. The one with yourself.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Untold Stories of Hope podcast. We hope you enjoyed and you were inspired by today's conversation. Remember, you can get more access to resources plus join a thriving global community of change makers by visiting our website at destinyconnectfoundation.org. Please subscribe to our channel and spread the word. Don't forget to turn the notification on. Until next time, keep inspiring your world.